Hi, thanks for joining me today to learn MailChimp. In today's class, we will discuss the basics of how to create a new account with MailChimp, the costs associated with using that account, how to build an audience for your information, and how to create campaigns to attempt to reach that audience. I'll introduce you to the MailChimp environment, terms typically used, and how to begin using those tools. Before we begin with account creation, let's take a quick look at the different plans available. You can do this from the MailChimp.com website, either by going to Pricing or Compare Plans. Either one works fine. And then you will see their advertisement at the top, different categories of information. We're going to be talking about marketing today, and then the options available below. This is a typical structure that you'll find with many web services where you start out with the free plan, and every plan on up has all the features of the previous one plus some more that's added there. So you can see Essentials plan has everything in the free plan plus those. Standard plan has everything in the Essentials plan plus those. Premium has everything in the standard plan plus those. So you see we keep integrating and adding to as we go. Now, next to the prices that we see here, I want to draw your attention to Starts At. This is doing a lot of work in their pricing scheme because as you add more recipients and as you send more emails, the price does go up. So without knowing the exact schedule of how many emails you're going to send out and how many people you have, it's hard to give you an exact price of where things would land. MailChimp does give you that information when you create and import a new list and when you tell it how many mails you're going to send, and it does have tools for estimating the cost that you might have for this. So if you want to get into that, you can go down to the Calculate Your Price, and you can go through the different message numbers that you would send here with different numbers of contacts and test that out. In my experience, the free account is a good option for getting to learn the environment and deciding whether or not you want to try to work with this. As you move up, Essentials and Standard, that depends on the user whether or not you find any of these extra features that they would have here of interest to you. Personally, I'll do a quick overview of this and mention some things that might be keys to be aware of, and some of them are more valuable than others in my opinion. You can get more details about any of these plans by going into the About section of them. We're going to skip that for today just for speed's sake than trying to get through a lot of material, but I do want to go over some of these key features. First of all, with the free plan, Email Builder. That is what allows you to create the messages that you're sending. So this is how you put together the content and the what they call blocks into your email that you're going to send along. The Marketing CRM is the customer relationship management. That allows you to get a feel for what is working and what is not working with what you send out. Essentially, these are reports that are generated that give you information about the response rate to your messages. How many are actually being opened up and read, how many are being responded to, that sort of thing. Forms and landing pages. The forms and the landing pages are ways for you to try to build your audience. These are things that allow people to sign up for your newsletter or marketing materials that you're sending out. You can post these on a website, you can post these on social media, you can email them to people if you want to see if they're interested in signing up for the newsletters or whatever it is that you're promoting. These are tools that allow you to increase your audience over time. The website builder and MailChimp domain is something that you would use within MailChimp for marketing tools or a repository for your information. Creative Assistant helps you with the building of the emails. Those aren't as key to me as the top three there, and that's why I want to focus on those. For the essentials, a couple of things that you might find of interest. Email templates can be very helpful. These are pre-built structures that you would just drop your content into, so if you don't think that you have a good eye for design or you just want it to go faster and easier for you, those templates are going to make it a lot quicker for you to simply drop in your own pictures and text and whatever links you might want to have into the email that's already built for you. So that can be very helpful. Obviously, having support is effective. Now, you might think I prefer phone support to email and chat support. Completely understandable. Unfortunately, that does not become an option until you get up to the premium level. So, for Essential and Standard, you are stuck with the email and chat support. Custom branding, if you want to have your own logos or other business information built into the emails that you send out, you can do that. A/B testing is if you want to send out comparison emails and see if patrons respond to one more than the other. And multi-step journeys I've always found to be kind of confusing language around this. The idea for this is, depending on what your customers have responded to in the past, then they will have different follow-up emails with this. So say somebody expressed an interest in story times here at the library, then we might have content that generates for them that is related to other youth services programs. Whereas if they had expressed an interest in adult book discussions, then we would have content generating for other programs for adults here at the library. That's the idea of the multi-step journeys, where it's not just a generic thing that's set out to one person, but there are multiple follow-up things that can happen as you go through. This is obviously a big step up from the free service. Again, I wouldn't expect you to actually be able to use the free service for very much. It's just a way to test this out. If you're looking to start working with MailChimp and actually be sending out materials to your customers, then you would probably at least want to go up to the essentials. Whether you wanted to go up to the standard or not, I don't find the transition to be as helpful going up to this. The dynamic content, that gives you things that are more interactive, that can be nice. Customizing the templates to save yourself time with recreation can be a little bit of a time saver there. For the most part, it's not nearly as big of a transition to here. Obviously, there's a huge price jump up to premium. This gets you things like the phone support. That's the biggest improvement to my mind. But it also gives you ways to do more complicated testing and reporting, so you can get a better idea of how interactive this is. So if you have a large marketing budget, then that might be right for you. I do want you to keep in mind that you are not actually going to be landing at these prices if you're sending out very many emails. It is going to go up as you send more and more stuff. So just something to be aware of. Now with that, I'm going to go ahead and click on the sign up in the upper right hand here. Of course, if you already have an account, you would choose login. I go to sign up, and this is going to ask me to go through a fairly basic sign up form. It does have a little bit more requirements here. Let me enter in some information and show you this. Now I'm putting in just some generic email information that I use for these example classes. I've met all of the security requirements. If I wanted to show that password, I could click there and show it. If I check this, I don't receive email updates from MailChimp related to marketing best practices, products, and feature updates. Especially if you're new to the product, you might want to get some notices about what they have available to them. So I'm going to leave that unchecked. I would choose sign up. Now it's asking me to check my email. I can go over to here, check my email, and there is the option to activate my MailChimp account, confirming that it's me. I activate that, and here we go. So it says, let's get this show on the road, and then we are going to begin the whole sign-up process. So once I confirm that I am not a robot, it's going to take us to the account setup page. And this is asking, first of all, what kind of plan do we want to start with? And we want to start with the free plan. This takes us to showing the different features that we were looking at before. You notice 2,000 contact maximum. You might wonder why this drops down to 500 contacts. Once you start paying, then they limit your resources a little bit more because you are actually going to be sending things out and creating them. So this is just allowing us to upload a bunch of stuff and test that out. I will say next. It asks for some information here. Notice the website URL and phone number are optional. I'm going to skip those for now. However, the address line is not optional. This is a legal requirement for, as I say here, international spam law, so you do need to have an official business address. Now, put in the library's address there, Bloomingdale, Illinois. I continue. And it's asking, do we have an existing list of contacts? Yes, no, I'm not sure. In this example, I do not have one. If you're wondering, how would I have an existing list of contacts, or is that something that I might have? Typically, this would be something that you would have in an Excel spreadsheet, perhaps a CSV or a tab-delimited text file. You might get this exported from an email account that you have. So if you have a large address book, You could export the information from there. You might have it exported from a different contact service that you worked with previously, or it might be something that's kept as a record at your place of business. So if you have that, you can save yourself a lot of entering time by using it and importing all of that information. In this case, I will say I'm not sure, so I can come to that option later, and it gives me, I don't know if what I have is considered a list, I don't know if I have permission to use this, something else. So I can choose any of those, and they'll give me more information about that. For right now, I'm going to say no, and continue. You might wonder, why is it asking all of this? This is going to relate to what suggested templates it offers and other services that it pushes on us. So I will say both here. I'm going to skip some of this information for right now. Additional emails I want to receive from MailChimp and their companies. Do I want to receive their newsletter? Advice to help driving traffic. Monthly newsletter highlighting their series that they have available. Essential weekly round of inspiration and ideas. Tips, updates, and inspiration for freelancers and agencies helping clients use MailChimp. So I would skip all of those for a basic user, perhaps considering the e-commerce newsletter. That would be the most helpful for you as you're going through this. And once I have finished, we're ready to get started. It says send your first email, create website, add your contacts, create a sign-up form, start an automation. We're going to talk about all of these things here, but first I want to show you the dashboard environment that we are in. This is what you will see in the future when you sign into MailChimp. So anytime you come here, this is the welcome screen that you should get when you click the login button instead of the sign up. You notice it has my initial here for the Sean Library test account that I created. That's the username that I made. As we go through here, we have the dashboard, which is what we are currently looking at. We have create, audience, campaigns, automations, website, content studio, integrations, and search. Now I'm going to go through these one by one, just explaining what they are, and then we're going to go over using several of them together. The dashboard would always take you back to this screen. So if we're in some of these other options and you want to get back to this welcome screen, then you would click the dashboard. Create is what you're going to do to create the actual marketing materials that you're going to send out. Create your newsletters, add them to campaigns, all of that. The audience is where you are going to create the list of recipients that are going to go to this. So they used to call this lists a while ago, now they call it the audience, and you would create this either by importing an existing list or by typing the names in as you go. The campaigns go directly to those things that you've already created, so that goes and shows you a list of existing campaigns. This is a brand new account, so we don't have any of those yet. The automations is going to show you all of the things that are scheduled to be sent out and set to happen automatically. The website is if you wanted to create a website for this information. We talked about that briefly earlier. That's a little bit beyond the scope of today's class. I want to make you aware of it. Content Studio is where you would find things like images or PDFs or existing files that you have brought into MailChimp to use as part of your campaigns. And the integrations finally takes us to how to use this with the apps that you already have. You see things like Facebook, Google, SurveyMonkey, Twitter, etc. And the search allows you to search through all of your campaigns and contacts to see if you can find something relevant. Now, let's start with Create and take a look at what comes up there. Once you click Create, it takes you to this page, allowing you to put together a number of different resources. We're going to focus on a couple of key ones. Email, where you'd send a regular plain text or template email. You might notice that the automatic option isn't there. That's because we are in a free account. If you had a higher level account, you'd be able to send an automated one that would go at a pre-scheduled time. Sign up form. This is where you would create a either embedded or pop-up form or a landing page allowing people to register for your newsletter. So this is something that you would have as part of your website or a social media post, or perhaps as part of your email that you send out once you've created the form. And then finally, social posts down here at the bottom, which is where you would create something intended to go on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or any other social media tool that your organization uses. Now, we're going to walk today through the creation of a sign-up form and the creation of an email, both using the regular and the template options that are available. Plain text is simply plain text. You would just type in the text that you want to go into the email rather than using the more advanced features. But before we do that, we need to go back and take a look at the audience, because that's going to be required for anything that you're going to send out. And so we're going to use that MailChimp button that I told you about earlier, that little picture of the monkey there, and jump back to here. Now, we want to go to the Audience tab in the options that we have here in the menu on the left. And this gives us a quick overview. It says Bloomingdale Library, that's the organization name that I put for this. The audience has one contact and one of them are subscribers. That is the initial created audience, that's me, as I put this in here. Now we're going to go over the basic choices that we have available. Because this is a free account, we're only going to have one audience that we can create. If you are using any of the more advanced or costly accounts, if you read about the essentials, it tells you in more details that you can have 3 audiences. If we go back and read about standard, you can have 5 audiences. So, and then of course, premium is unlimited audiences. So that's one of the things that makes the accounts that you pay for more valuable. If you're wondering why would you want to have more than one audience, and by the way, if you find the term audience confusing, it's a list. It's just an email list that you're sending out. They've just created a different name for it because, strictly speaking, it's not something that we always email. It's something that can be sent out in physical postcards or social media posts or other tools that they have available for them. So they use a more general term there, but think of it as an email list. And the reason why you would want to have more than one of them as part of your available audiences are sometimes you have different target groups that you want to send things out. For example, if you were to visit the Bloomingdale Library's webpage, we have a number of newsletters that go out. We have one that's sent for teens, we have one that's sent for tech information, another that's sent for just general library news, and these all go to different audiences that have signed up for different things. And so something to be aware of that might add some value to going up to the standard instead of the essentials. If you want to have a few more audiences to send things to, just something to consider. But within this existing one that we have, our tools for managing it are over here on the left. Now we could go directly to view the contacts, and very often that might be what you want to do, but I'm going to show you in the pull-down menu here some of the key choices available to you. First, and probably most important one, add a subscriber. When I click on that, it takes me to a form that I can type in additional subscribers if I want to. So let me enter in one here. That is, of course, me. And I'll put in the library's address. Now, you notice, by the way, that only the email address is required. You see the little star there? So I don't need to fill in the rest of this for it to work. However, the more information you have, the more you can customize the campaigns that you send out. All of you have probably received either in physical letters in the mail or in emails in the past things that said hi and then had your first name and then throughout the body of the text had other personalized information for you. They are doing that by incorporating things from a list and having it filter right on in. And so if you want to use these extra information, you can. You can put in birth dates, phone numbers, whatever you want to work with. Tags are something that you can get more in depth with if you like. You can think of it as a grouping mechanism. So I could put in a tag here and say computers. And that could be a certain topic that parts of my audience are interested in, and I could use that for more advanced features and customizing my response. It is not required at all, but it is something that is useful. Now, under here you see a checkbox. This person gave me permission to email them. This person will not receive a confirmation email from MailChimp since you're adding this recipient manually. They won't have to opt in or date in the record, so be sure you have permission first. So, if you don't want the people that you are signing up to receive the confirmation email, you would check this. You would only do this with people that have given you their permission to enter this information in. Next one that we see here, if this person is already in my audience, update their profile. So if you're worried about having duplicates, maybe you have somebody with the same name but a different email address, or the same email address but updated phone records, this will consolidate them into one account. So you can do that to be safe. Especially if you have a large imported list already and then you're inputting some people manually, you don't want to accidentally type on top of the ones that already exist there. So I click subscribe, it says please wait. My audience now has 2 contacts, and I could keep on doing that if I were so inclined. Let's go back to the audience dashboard. Other things that we might want to do from here, we can go to Manage Audience, Import Contacts. This is where you would upload an existing file. You can also copy and paste from a spreadsheet. That can be a little bit less precise and a little bit harder to do with large lists. So if you have this in file format, you'd want to upload that as the simplest way to go. If you have an Excel file and you're wondering how do I get this to be a CSV file, you can save that as a .csv file. That is an option in Excel that you can do that directly to a CSV file that way, and then you would be able to upload it easily. I don't have a file to use for the demo here. That would be a violation of a lot of people's privacy if I were to grab a library's list, so we're not going to use that right now. I'll take a step back. Scroll down here, we can go to Sign Up Forms. Right now we do not have any sign-up forms existing, so we don't see any listed here. These are the options that we might want to use. Form Builder allows us to build, design, and translate sign-up forms. This is something that we create on our own. Embedded forms, this is going to create a chunk of code that you would copy into the website. If you maintain your own website, you can do this on your own. Otherwise, you might need to copy that and send it to whoever maintains the website for you. Subscriber pop-up is also going to create some code, but instead of it being a little block that goes in the website, it's going to be a window that pops up in front of people when they're using your website. This can be a somewhat annoying feature for somebody that is using a website and has perhaps already signed up. So I wouldn't recommend using this in too many places, but if you have, say, a link that goes to more information about my newsletter or something like that, then it might be appropriate to have the pop-up on that page that people are linking to. Contact form, let your customers reach you directly with a contact form that sends messages to your inbox. So if you wanted people to be able to send messages directly to you, you can use that. And form integrations using existing things on Facebook forms or landing page sign-up forms, so you can work with those as well. Now we're going to go with the form builder. So it says forms and response emails. They have some basic forms available here, sign up form with alerts. Do you want to have a CAPTCHA confirmation, etc. Choose a sign up form. Let subscribers pick what format they want to have, so they can choose, do they want to get the plain text or the HTML. That can be confusing to a lot of people, so I would recommend against doing that if possible. And it has generated a URL for me, so this is what I would copy and paste into Facebook, Twitter, create a QR code so people could just scan something and then sign up, or I could copy that and paste it into an email and send it out. Underneath here, we see build it, design it form, so we can add fields, remove fields. This is what is part of this by default. I can select any of these and remove them if I don't want to have them here. Go through and add or remove everything that I want to have or don't want to have. So if I wanted to make this really simple, I could go through and take out all of these, just clicking the minus, and say just have the email address and the first and last name. If I want to have a message at the top, I can type here. And notice that you have all of the general formatting things that you would see . I can resize that. whatever changes I would like to make. You can also include pictures, other information there, so you can make some changes to the appearance of this as we go through it. You can also choose to add fields if you want to have more choices available, if you want to separate things out by zip code. So you can remove the entire address but just have one or two fields available if you want to add another image in. You can get an image URL. If you're not familiar with using an image URL, this is instead of browsing and updating, browsing and uploading an image, you would then be giving a link to a place where this was stored on a website. So you would need to have your own website or cloud storage location that you could link to be able to use this, but you would copy and paste the URL in to include that image. The field tag would be information in the background to let it know what this is related to. And help text is what would appear if you were to hover the mouse over it. This is very important for ADA compliance so that people that cannot see the images would get an indication of what the image was about. I'm going to remove that from this. Generally speaking, whoops, you need to type in delete there for that to go through. Generally speaking, I would recommend making these sign-up forms as simple as possible. If you don't need information, don't request it. That way people will be more likely to fill them out. Large forms people don't want to fill out, but if it's a real quick thing that they can simply type in their name and email address, then they might go with that. We can go into the Design It option and we can change the color coding for these things if we were so inclined. The background, it is asking for either typing in a code or selecting the color that you want. So if you want to brand this to your business's colors, you can do that. You notice that the RGB numbers that appear here create a hexadecimal. So if you were to Google background colors, then you would see a number of these hexadecimal options available, and you could simply type it in and it would go to the color that you wanted. Or, as I said, you can use the color spectrum here by clicking on the area that you want and clicking the specific shade that you want. You can go with that. Other options like header and outer wrapper are available here. We can also translate to other languages as we go through with this. And finally, once we're done, we can take this address that's provided for us and we can, as I said, post it on whatever social media you like. And if somebody follows it, they would see your sign-up form. And now when I type in an address here, and subscribe. We need to confirm that we're not a robot, and subscribe. And it says thank you for subscribing, and if I go back to here and check my audience, there it is, 3 contacts. So that is the use of the sign-up forms. So we go through the creation process for that, and then we are able to share that wherever we like. We can make as many of those forms as we like. We can keep going back and editing them or changing them how we feel inclined. Now the surveys, that's information you can send out to your contacts that are in there. Inbox is, you might remember earlier that you had the contact form that people could send to you. And finally, let's take a look at Manage Contacts. We can choose to view all the contacts. And then you see the information that's typed in there. They're all subscribed. If I wanted to edit these, I can click on that. And in the actions, I can archive it. Archive contacts don't receive any information. You can still see their activity from past campaigns. So that's the equivalent of deleting something off of your list, but without removing their information. You can also change somebody from subscribed to unsubscribed. So we still have the contact information, but they no longer receive anything that's sent out. I can go back and I can resubscribe them and confirm there. And with that, we have created a small audience and we are ready to go on to creating a campaign. Now as we go to create, we again see the options available to us. We're going to be creating an email campaign today. As we discussed earlier, we have the regular plain text and template options. When we go through regular, we're going to see the template options presented there, so that's going to combine both of those. We're going to skip over the plain text today because that is, as you might imagine, plain text, and it's just a matter of typing it in, or perhaps copying and pasting it from somewhere else. Let's go to the regular, and it asks for a campaign name. This is important to give a meaningful name to so that people will be able to recognize it when it comes through, because this will be seen by the recipients. So you want to call this something that makes sense. And after I click begin, it's going to show us what needs to be filled in. Now we have, first of all, the to field. This is who is this going to? Because this account only has one audience, we see that audience automatically selected, and it shows the 2 recipients in that audience are going to be receiving it. I can choose to edit that if I want. The audience I cannot change because we just have the one, but if you had multiple ones, you could choose a different one. But you can choose to take a segment or a group of that audience using this option, so you could say only take people with certain tags on them, or you could use some of the pre-built ones, only taking certain subscribers, new, active, or inactive subscribers. So this can be a nice way to divide up your audience without having to have several options available. We're going to leave it all subscribers in the audience for this example. If you want to personalize the to field, you would do that by selecting this and choosing what they call the merge tags. This is the information pulled in from the list of people in that audience from the spreadsheet that you have available. There's a little bit of a risk in this because if you do not require this information for every user, then you might not have it for some of them and it would come up blank when they go to receive it, and that could look a little strange. But if you have that, it can look a little bit more personal, where they see that they're getting an email sent to their name rather than sent to the list of the audience that you have them put in. I then save this after I've done with that. Then who is this coming from is the next question. You would want to change this to something people would recognize. So I might change this to Bloomingdale Public Library. The email address can also be changed if you want it to be something that people can reply to and you don't want it to go into your email account. So if you want to create a dummy account just for receiving replies to this, you can do that. You can also leave it the same. That's perfectly fine. The subject is always important for getting people to be interested in opening your email. So you wouldn't want to just call this library newsletter. You'd want it to be indicating what they're going to read when they open this up. You also want to be consistent with these so that they, in the future, trust that it will be what you're typing there as well. So I can put this in as library news, but that's kind of inspecific and boring. I could change this to summer concerts coming soon. Notice they have some suggestions here for the subject line. Short and sweet, no more than one emoji, try to stay under 60 characters, get your point across without using too many punctuation marks. I just used the one. I could probably lose that, but I'll leave the one there. Now the preview text, this is something that you would type in so that you could have a little bit more detail for certain email services like Gmail and Yahoo that show a little bit of preview text from emails. In a normal email that is all written in text, it would simply grab the first sentence or two and show that underneath it. But this is an HTML email, so this is not something that would have any content for it to grab. So if you want anything extra to appear, you need to type it here. So I could type you notice I've used about half the characters there. I could type more if I were so inclined, but I'll just save us all some time and go with that many. Now I click Save. And then finally the big part, designing the email. So this is where you're putting in all of the content. So I will go with Design Email here. Now you see you have a number of options. We are creating an HTML email, so this will have images, links, lots of content like that. And we can go with layouts, themes, save templates, these are existing ones that you've used before, existing campaigns, or code your own. Code your own would be copying and pasting HTML code from an existing page that you've created, maybe using an HTML editor. You could also import from a website, so if you just wanted to send out a link to a web page, you could use the HTML from that. Not a link to it, but an actual image of the web page, it should be more clear. And you could import from a zip file if you have downloaded a number of web pages. Campaigns are things that you've sent out in previous ones. This is an example I created earlier. Save templates is similar. These are templates that you've used before. Themes are existing layouts and appearances that they've created for you with a lot of color coding and design elements to them. A number of these won't be available for the free accounts. You see it says upgrade to use when you highlight over those. And then finally, layouts are empty structures that you can fill in. Several of these are also upgrade to use, but they do have a lot of options available. You can see very basic, text only, multiple columns, one column, then three underneath, one column up and down there, and you see the rectangles represent images, the lines represent text. There will be more details to it when you get into it, but that just gives you a feel for it. To make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to show you one of the featured ones today. So I'm going to grab this featured option here. Now while it loads, I'll tell you all of these tools and options you have on the right would be there no matter what layout or feature you went with. They all work the same, they just have different things populated inside it already. So now you see at the top it's asking us for a logo. When I hover over any of these blocks, that's what all the different sections are called, they give me the option to make changes. See, I can do that by dragging it around using that, clicking the edit block to make changes to it, clicking the plus to make a duplication of it, or clicking the trash can to delete it. Now I'm going to make changes to this clicking the edit block, and I'm going to grab a logo to have as the top for my branding here. So I click replace, and I will take this logo that I've dropped in, and I choose insert. Now after I've done that, I could go back and edit it again, but if I'm happy with it, I can choose save and close, and now I've made changes to that block. I can also change the background color over this top section here by clicking that and having a different shade in this however I like. Whenever I let go, it drops it in. And if I'm happy with it, then I say OK, and I keep that. You can also have a background image. That can be a little bit distracting, especially if you have an image in the foreground, but you do have that option. Now you see all of these have generic information. You see add photo here, share your big news. When I edit that for a text one, it has different formatting already put in. So I could change this to concerts coming, American English. I could also change the coloring of this, or italicize it, or change the font style, or whatever changes you would typically find in an email editor, because that is essentially what you're using here. Right now they're centered. I could align them to the left, or center them again, however you like to handle it. Once I'm happy with the changes I've made to that, I save and close it. I can now edit this, and I could add multiple pictures to this. So I can choose to replace, and I'll grab one of my existing pictures instead of uploading one. But this time, when I go to replace the picture, I'll say I don't want any of the ones here. I'm going to choose to upload one. And I'll grab a different picture from here. It takes a moment to upload. And once it's done, that'll be part of my inventory that I have. And so you see there's the picture. Now once you have a picture in, you can edit it if you like. So I can click edit. And we have a number of tools available to us. I could choose to resize. I could change the layout of it using these options. And customize that. I could choose to apply filters. Wanted to make it seem a little warmer. That might be a bit much. I could adjust the focus. So that it's more focused in the center there. You can add text. Once you're happy with all of these changes, you can even, in fact, brush some colors onto it or change the background images. But once you're happy with all these changes, you would click Save. And it takes a little bit of time to process because I made some changes to that, but once it is done, the picture has now been changed. And finally, I could add a photo here by replacing this. You can also, again, link to something on the web if you have the file saved on a website. But I can simply grab one of my existing pictures here and drop that in. Now, if I decide I want to get rid of a block, I can press the delete button there. It gives me a little warning that I'm about to delete that. I say, yes, I am sure. If I wanted to duplicate one, I could click on that, and now I have that block twice. And I realize, wait, I don't even want that block once. I can delete that and delete it again. I can change the color in the background here. I'm going to leave mine as white. I think that reads a little easier, but you can change it to whatever colors you like throughout the spectrum. Maybe I could make it slightly yellow there. That doesn't look great, but adjust accordingly. And I can edit this Find Out More button that we have here at the bottom. Right now, this is set to link to a web address. I can change that to have it go to an email address, anchor link, which would jump to somewhere else in the file, or to download a file. I'm going to leave it a web address, but I will change the title. Say, see our upcoming programs. Now you can type in the web address if you like, but I recommend going to an actual website and copying and pasting the link, because you're much less likely to make a mistake copying and pasting than you are typing in, especially a particularly long link like that. Once I'm happy with that, I will save and close it. Now, I do want to show you the social share options at the bottom here. Those are ways to link to your social media accounts that you might have with your organization. You can choose which accounts you want to have. Right now, by default, it offers me 4 in this template. I can get rid of one of them if I like. Say I want to get rid of Instagram here. I can change the website to the URL HTTPS maybe I don't use Twitter, maybe we'll use LinkedIn instead. I could change that, and then I could copy our LinkedIn profile address so people would go directly to there. Same thing with Facebook. I could change that and say, no, here's our YouTube address, and I could change this and put in the library's YouTube page and go directly to there. Once I was happy with all those changes, I could save and close. You can also add more services if you want, so you can have all kinds of little icons across the bottom here. Once I've saved that, I could edit the footer down here at the bottom if I wanted to. It automatically adds some basic information to this because of the account that I have. I'm going to leave that and save and close. And then I am happy with all of that. I choose continue. So now you see it has the content created as I like. The campaign link will be automatically generated. That's that XXX part, but it will have summer concerts coming soon at the end. I could add a social post to this if I wanted to, connecting to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram if I had accounts set up with those. Finally, when I'm ready to go, I could either finish it later, that's saving the draft and coming back for more work. If I had a for pay account, I could schedule this to be sent out at a later date. I don't, so we can't do that right now. And now I can choose to send it. It says you're about to send this to the 2 subscribers. I send now. And congratulations, you're done. So now once you're done with all of that, we can take a look at our campaigns. You'll see I've created a number of them here. It's still in the sending process with this. But I've created a number of different campaigns here, and you can look at some details. There are 0 opens and 0 clicks for the one that I sent earlier. I could view the report to see more data, but of course that's not a lot to read right there. If in fact we had a lot of opens and clicks, I could get some more information about that through the reports. One thing that you might want to be able to find later on is the social share. That allows you to get a link that you can then post to Facebook or other social media, and that people can follow that link and go straight to it. This is also a good thing for if you want to embed these campaigns in your website. You want to say have an archive of old ones that you've created. The social share is where you would get the link to that, so that can be very helpful. Otherwise, that is a quick overview of how you would work with MailChimp. Hopefully you have a good feel for how to create an account, how to add an audience, how to build the audience through forms or by importing an existing list, and then how to create a basic campaign to send out to them. If you have any questions, if there's anything you'd like to see more of, if you want to have a more advanced class on this, definitely let us know. Otherwise, thank you very much and have a great day.